night fell upon the magnificent Saigon city, but for Eve, the darkness seemed denser and heavier than ever. The dim streetlights cast a faint glow into the small, damp, rented room where her mother lay, drifting network sleep on an old, worn-out bed. Her dry coughs, tearing through the silence, were like knives predstavitally into the young girl's heart. The hospital had just sent her mother home. Terminal cancer. The doctor had shaken his head, saying hope was slim, and the treatment costs were a colossal sum, far beyond the means of a girl orphaned by her father, relying solely on her meager part-time earnings from a supermarket. 400 million. The figure was like a towering mountain, blocking all of Eve's escape routes. She had run around everywhere, borrowing from friends and acquaintances. But it was a drop in the ocean. Despair gnawed at her soul, second by second, minute by minute. Looking at her emaciated, pale mother on the sickbed, Eve felt utterly helpless and pained. Her mother was her only relative, her entire world. She couldn't lose her mother. She couldn't. In her desperate straits, a crazy, shameful thought looted in Eve's mind. She went online, her hands trembling as she typed words that made her own skin crawl. Urgently need money for mother's medical treatment. Can sell. She didn't dare finish the sentence, but just that was enough for a barrage of indecent proposals to flood in. And then, amidst countless teasing messages and cheap bargaining, a strange account agreed to the 400 million price she had quoted. The person called himself Liam Fong. Eve's heart pounded, bewildered, scared, but above all, a glimmer of hope for her mother. She gritted her teeth and accepted. The meeting was set for the following evening at a secluded suburban beach. Before going, Liam Fong transferred half the amount up front. The number displayed on her phone screen obstaculos Eve. 250 million, not 200 million as agreed, but 250 million. Did he transfer an extra 50 million? Or was it intentional? She didn't dare think too much, only knowing that this money could help her mother be admitted to the hospital immediately. That night, Eve wore her simplest white dress, her long black hair flowing naturally. She wore no makeup. Her unadorned yet delicate face held a trace of sadness and anxiety. Standing before the mirror, she saw her reflection as a stranger, pitiable. Tears threatened to fall, but she forced them back. For her mother, she had to do this. A luxurious black car stopped at the designated spot. The window rolled down, and a man with chiseled features and deep eyes, yet tinged with weariness and ennui, looked at her. It was Liam Fong. He wasn't like the debauched rich men she had imagined. There was something lonely and distant in his eyes. "Get in." His voice was deep and hoarse. Eve took a deep breath, opened the car door, and sat in the passenger seat. The silence in the car was suffocating. He asked no more questions, just silently drove along the coast. The sound of the waves crashing outside couldn't dispel the tension between them. The car stopped in a secluded spot, where only the silver moonlight and the sound of the waves were their companions. Liam Fong turned to look at her, his eyes scanning Eve's pure face, her large, round, tear-filled eyes. "Is this your first time?" he asked, a hint of surprise in his voice. "Eve Kitaisky." Her head nodding slightly. She felt ashamed and humiliated to the extreme. He was silent for a moment, then sighed softly. "I'll be gentle." It wasn't a wild, passionate, or brutal encounter, as she had imagined a transaction of flesh would be. Liam Fong was truly gentle, almost tender. He respected her inexperience and fear. Even though it was a cold transaction, he tried not to hurt her further. But for Eve, every touch, every gesture was like 1,000 needles pressed vitally her self-esteem. She shut her eyes tightly, trying to detach her soul from her body, to turn herself into an inanimate object so that pain and shame couldn't invade her. She just wished for it all to end quickly. When it was over, Eve hastily dressed, not daring to look Liam Fong in the eye. She just wanted to flee this place, this man, this shameful memory as quickly as possible. The rest of the money, Liam Fong started to say. I've received enough. Thank you. Eve cut him off, her voice trembling. She opened the car door, hurried out, and melted into the darkness. She didn't look back, didn't leave any information other than the fake name Eve she had used in the messages. She wanted to erase this night from her life. Liam Fong sat silently in the car, watching the small, fragile figure of the girl who had just left. He didn't understand why he had transferred extra money, why he felt a twinge of remorse seeing the fear and hurt in her eyes. He was Liam Fong, CEO of an entertainment company on the brink of bankruptcy due to an artist's scandal, having just ended a draining 5-year relationship. He had sought this exchange merely to vent his ennui, to find temporary solace in the physical. But this girl named Eve, with her simple, gentle appearance and eyes and a deep sadness, had unexpectedly stirred something within him. He didn't even know her real name, where she was from, or anything else. She was like a gust of wind, leaving behind a vague, indescribable longing. As for Eve, as soon as she got home, she hastily packed, taking her mother to the largest hospital in the city. The $500 million, $250 million received up front, and $250 million Liam Fong transferred right after she left, though she was unaware and didn't check her account at that time, was enough for her mother to be admitted and start the best treatment regimen. Seeing her mother being diligently cared for by the doctors, Eve finally breathed a sigh of relief, but the wound in her heart still throbbed. That night, for her, was an indelible stain, a shameful exchange devoid of any beauty. She promised herself she would forget the man named Liam Fong, forget that horrific night. From now on, her life would only consist of her mother, responsibility, and relentless effort to atone for the mistake she believed she had made. Strangely, after the night with Eve, Liam Fong's entertainment company, which had seemed effetos to collapse, unexpectedly took a positive turn. The scandal subsided inexplicably, new contracts were continuously signed, and the company's reputation gradually recovered, even flourishing more than before. Liam Fong wasn't superstitious, but sometimes he would fleetingly think of the girl from that night as an unexpected good luck charm. He occasionally drove back to the old beach, hoping to see her again. But it was all in vain. The world was too vast. Where could he find someone with just the name Eve among the millions in Saigon City? Gradually, the image of the girl also faded amidst his busy work and life. 3 years passed in a flash. Eve's life had completely changed, but in a way no one expected. At 24, she was no longer the naive, dreamy student of yesteryear. The burden of livelihood and the responsibility of caring for her sick mother had transformed her into a quiet, reserved, and resilient woman. Fortunately, her mother's health had stabilized significantly after the intensive treatment 3 years ago. Although she still needed to take medication regularly and have periodic checkups, she could manage her daily activities and was no longer bedridden. That was Eve's greatest comfort, the motivation for her to keep striving. To earn $10 million each month to cover medication, rent, and food for her and her mother, Eve had to work 2 jobs simultaneously. During the day, she was a janitor, cleaning a large office building. In the evening, she rushed to a small cafe to work as a waitress until late at night. Her hard life left Eve no time or energy to think about herself. Her wardrobe consisted of only a few old, faded clothes. Her once beautiful, delicate face now constantly bore a tired look, rarely made up. She didn't care about love or dating. For her, love was a luxury. Responsibility towards her mother was everything. Her mother, Mrs. Lan, watched her daughter grow increasingly haggard, her heart aching. She knew her daughter was struggling because of her, but couldn't advise her to work less. Many times, she pressed money into her daughter's hand, telling her to buy new clothes, a lipstick, or go out with friends to relax. But Eve always refused. "Keep this money for your medicine, Mom. I'm still healthy. I can still work. Don't worry about me," she always said. Pitying her daughter, Mrs. Lund quietly bought a few new outfits, simple in style and appropriate for her age. She carefully cut off all the tags, washed them odd, and hung them in the closet. Eve knew her mother bought them, but seeing her mother's affection, she couldn't bring herself to return them, silently accepting them. These new clothes, though inexpensive, were a rare warmth in her arduous life. Before working as a janitor at her current office building, Eve had worked as a sales assistant at a large supermarket. The work, though not as strenuous, led to an unpleasant incident. The middle-aged manager, who was married, repeatedly made harassing remarks and gestures, full of innuendo. Eve felt disgusted and uneasy. She didn't want to get into trouble, nor did she want to be misunderstood, so she decided to quit immediately. That decision turned out to be a stroke of luck. Just a day after she quit, the manager's wife came to the supermarket, Ustreve a scene because she had heard rumors of her husband having an affair with a young employee. If Eve had still been there, even if innocent, she would have hardly avoided gossip and scrutinizing eyes. She silently thanked her decisiveness. After quitting the supermarket, Eve struggled to find a new job. She applied to many places, but jobs suitable for her qualifications and schedule were scarce. While browsing online for job postings, she chanced upon an ad for a janitor at a large entertainment company headquartered in an office building near her home. The salary was decent, and the daytime working hours were flexible, perfect for her to work another job in the evening. Without hesitation, Eve applied and was quickly called for an interview. The interviewer was a middle-aged woman, the head of the janitorial department. She was quite pleased with the young girl's gentle, clean appearance and polite demeanor. Eve was hired the very next day. She had no idea that the entertainment company she had just joined was Star Entertainment, the company run by Liam Fong, the man she had tried to forget for the past 3 years, the man who had bought her on that fateful night, was now her boss, though she was completely unaware. Janitorial work at Star Entertainment was not easy. The building was large, with many floors, and the cleaning and waste collection tasks demanded diligence and meticulousness. But Eve wasn't afraid of hardship. She always completed her assigned tasks well, keeping the corridors and offices clean and tidy. However, the difference in social status sometimes brought unnecessary trouble. That morning, as Eve was diligently mopping the corridor on the second floor, the area of the creative department's 2 stylishly dressed female employees with heavy makeup walked out of their office. Seeing Eve in her gray janitor's uniform, holding a mop, they immediately showed a disdainful attitude. "Huh, who's this? New employee? Looks so a bit country." A girl with bleached blonde hair and bright red lipstick spoke, her voice dripping with contempt. The other girl, wearing an extremely short skirt, giggled. "Probably just came from the countryside to find work, Lily." "Look at that dazed face." "Hey, you, mop it clean. There's still a stain on the floor." Eve looked up, her eyes meeting the malicious gazes of the two. She recognized them as employees who often sat in this area. She remained silent, bent down to continue her work, trying to suppress her anger and self-pity. She needed this job. She couldn't cause trouble. Seeing Eve didn't react, the girl named Lily pushed further. She took the half-drunk cup of coffee in her hand and deliberately spilled it on the floor, right in front of Eve. "Oh dear, I'm sorry." My hand slipped. "Could you please clean this up for me?" Lily smirked, her voice feigning apology, but her eyes full of challenge. Her friend chimed in. Such a klutz. Hurry up and clean it, or the director might see it and scold you, country bumpkin. The harsh words were like needles pricking Eve's heart. She gripped the mop tightly, her hand trembling with anger. But she knew if she retaliated, she would be the one to suffer. She took a deep breath, tried to remain calm, and was about to bend down to clean the filthy coffee stain. "What are you two doing?" A deep, warm voice, tinged with sternness, came from behind. Eve and the two female employees all jumped and turned around. The speaker was a young man, dressed lich lam in a business suit with a bright, approachable face. It was Kevin Tran, CEO Liam Fong's close assistant. Kevin Tran was well liked by many employees in the company for his kind, straightforward nature and helpfulness. He was also known for being observant and fair. Seeing the coffee puddle on the floor and Eve's aggrieved expression, along with the haughty attitude of the two female employees, Kevin Tran immediately understood the situation. He walked over, looked straight at Lily and her friend, his voice a few degrees colder. "I saw everything. Deliberately spilling coffee on the floor to bully a janitor? What do you think this place is? The company is a place of work, not a market for you to do as you please and look down on whomever you want." Lily and her friend turned pale. They hadn't expected the CEO's assistant to appear at this very moment and stand up for a cleaning staff member. "Mr. Tran, it's not like that. It was just an accident." Lily stammered, trying to explain. "An accident?" Kevin Tran raised an eyebrow. "Then why did I hear unpleasant remarks about someone's background and appearance? Star Entertainment does not welcome employees with discriminatory attitudes and disrespect for colleagues. You two apologize to her immediately." Kevin Tran's voice was firm, allowing no argument. The two girls knew they couldn't resist, so they reluctantly bowed their heads and apologized to Eve, though their hearts were still full of resentment and anger. Sorry. If this happens again, I will report directly to the CEO. Now, get back to your work." Kevin Tran waved his hand. The two girls scurried back to their office, not daring to look back. When only the two of them remained, Kevin Tran turned to Eve, his eyes showing a bit of surprise and sympathy. "Are you okay? Why did you let them bully you like that without saying anything?" Eve bowed her head, mumbling her thanks. "Thank you, Mr. Tran, for helping me. I was afraid of losing my job." Kevin Tran sighed. He understood the hardships of manual laborers. He looked at the girl before him. Though plainly dressed and without makeup, she still exuded a delicate, gentle beauty. Her eyes were beautiful, but they held too much sorrow. "Is this job very hard? If you want, I can introduce you to another, less strenuous job, perhaps in the logistics department." Kevin Tran genuinely wanted to help. Eve looked up, her eyes shining with determination. "No, thank you. I appreciate your kindness, but I don't want to owe anyone anything. I believe I can manage on my own." The girl's self-respect and resilience surprised and impressed Kevin Tran. He nodded. "All right. If you have any difficulties, don't hesitate to tell me. No one here will be allowed to bully you anymore." With that, Kevin Tran smiled, quantity on hand, and turned to leave, returning to his office. Eve watched his retreating figure, a vague warmth clienty in her heart. At least, in this unfamiliar workplace, there were still kind-hearted people like him. Kevin Tran had just returned to his office and put his briefcase down when his phone rang. It was the reception desk. "Mr. Tran, Ms. Rose Hong from Prosperity Increase is here to see the CEO. She said she has an appointment to sign a contract and would like to wait in his office." Kevin Tran frowned. It was fatty Rose Hong again, the woman famously infatuated with CEO Liam Fong. Prosperity Incorporated was an important business partner, but Ms. Hong's persistence sometimes annoyed both Liam Fong and him. The CEO is in a meeting upstairs. He should be done in about 30 minutes. Please show her up here to wait. Kevin Tran replied, mentally preparing himself to deal with this special guest. He knew a comedy was about to unfold in the CEO's office. Just as Kevin Tran predicted, Fatty Rose Hong appeared at the CEO's office Principios a brightly colored, tight-fitting floral dress that clearly revealed her substantial figure of nearly 85 kilograms. Her carefully made-up face couldn't hide her eagerness and the sparkle in her eyes when she asked about Liam Fong. "Handsome Mr. Tran! Where's Fong, dear? I'm here to sign the contract, and I was thinking of asking Fong out for coffee, too." Ms. Rose Hong beamed, her voice booming. Kevin Tran politely invited her to sit on the sofa, poured her a glass of water, and mentally strategized how to handle her. He knew full well that Ms. Rose Hong's main purpose wasn't just to sign the contract. Yes, the CEO is in a meeting upstairs. He should be down soon. Please wait a moment. While waiting, Ms. Rose Hong relentlessly questioned Kevin Tran about Liam Fong, especially about his ideal type of girlfriend. "Tell me quietly, Tran, what kind of girl does our Fong like? Is it the gentle, obedient type?" Ms. Rose Hong leaned in close to Tran, whispering. Kevin Tran, naturally humorous, and seeing Ms. Rose Hong's earnestness, blurted out a tease. "Oh, you're asking a tough one. Our CEO is very private. But I think he likes the modern, a bit edgy type. Especially, they must have a perfect figure, big bust, curvy hips." He barely suppressed a laugh as he spoke. Everyone knew Liam Fong had always preferred girls with an elegant, intellectual beauty. His ex-girlfriend of 5 years was a talented screenwriter with a slender figure. Yet Ms. Rose Hong's eyes lit up upon hearing this, believing it to be true. She slapped her thigh. "Knew it! Fong's taste is just like mine. I also like modern, strong guys. As for the perfect figure, I'm working on it." Kevin Tran almost burst out laughing. He hadn't expected his teasing remark to give Ms. Rose Hong such hope. Just then, the door opened and Liam Fong walked in. Still the same cool, handsome appearance and commanding aura of a CEO. He wore a neat black suit, his hair cut short and tidy, his sharp eyes scanning the room. "Hello, Ms. Hong. Sorry to keep you waiting," he said, his voice even, betraying no particular emotion. "Oh, Fong! It's okay. I can wait for Fong forever." Ms. Rose Hong immediately jumped up, rushing towards him as if to embrace him, but was stopped by Liam Fong's ice-cold gaze. Throughout the contract signing, Ms. Rose Hong barely focused on the clauses, her eyes glued to Liam Fong, occasionally uttering compliments and suggestive questions. Liam Fong maintained a professional, serious demeanor, handling his work while ignoring his partner's enthusiastic advances. Kevin Tran, standing ekologicheski, could only shake his head and chuckle inwardly. After the contract was duly signed, Ms. Rose Hong immediately extended an invitation. "Fong, dear, now that work is done, let's go for some coffee, shall we? I know this new place that's really good." Liam Fong put down his pen, looked directly at Ms. Rose Hong, without a hint of politeness. "Thank you for the invitation, but I think when you successfully lose weight down to about 45 to 50 kilograms, like a model's standard, then we can talk further." The blunt statement was like a bucket of cold water thrown in Ms. Rose Hong's face. She was stunned, stammering, "What? What? Narpatende modal 50 kilogram? Fong, you're joking, right?" "I'm not joking. That's the standard," Liam Fong replied curtly, then stood up, signaling Kevin Tran to see the guest out. Ms. Rose Hong was as if struck dumb. Losing weight from 85 kilograms to 50 kilograms? That was an impossible feat. All her hopes and dreams about her Prince Charming vanished in an instant. Utterly disappointed and humiliated, Ms. Rose Hong slumped onto the sofa, buried her face in her hands, and sobbed uncontrollably right there in the CEO's office. Boo-hoo. Why is Fong so cruel to me? Losing weight isn't easy. Boo-hoo. Kevin Tran, feeling both awkward and amused, had to gently console and persuade Ms. Rose Hong for a long time before she finally stopped crying and left in a miserable state. Liam Fong had long since disappeared into his private office, paying no heed to the tragedy he himself had caused. Meanwhile, in another part of the building, Eve had just finished collecting trash on the first floor and was pushing a rather heavy cleaning cart towards the service elevator for janitorial staff at the end of the corridor. This elevator was old and often required a long wait. Seeing the nearby office staff elevator open and empty, Eve hesitated. Panny then decided to take it to save time. Just as she pushed the cart in, a politely dressed female employee also stepped in. The employee frowned upon seeing Eve and the cart. "Excuse me, this elevator is for office staff. The janitorial department's elevator is over there, isn't it?" Eve, slightly embarrassed, mumbled, "Yes, I'm sorry. I saw this one was empty." Just then, Kevin Tran came out of the CEO's office, also intending to go downstairs to retrieve some documents. He saw Eve and overheard the conversation. "It's all right, miss. Just let her ride with us. It's on the way." Kevin Tran smiled at the other employee, then turned to Eve. "Which floor are you going to?" I'm going to the 5th floor," Eve said, surprised and a little grateful for Kevin Tran's help. "Then, let's go together." Kevin Tran stepped into the elevator, standing right next to Eve. The elevator space was quite narrow. Standing so close to Eve for the first time, Kevin Tran had a chance to see her face clearly. Her skin was smooth and white despite no makeup, her eyes large, round, and dark, with long, curled lashes and a delicate nose. A simple, pure, and very captivating beauty. He felt his heart skip a beat. When the elevator stopped on the 5th floor, Kevin Tran even proactively helped Eve push the heavy cart out, much to the surprise of several other employees who had just entered the elevator. "Thank you so much, Mr. Tran." Eve bowed her head, thanking him again. "You're welcome." Kevin Tran smiled, his gaze no more tender. The entire incident in the elevator did not escape the eyes of Flora, Eve's colleague in the janitorial team, who was also working on the 5th floor. Flora was a middle-aged woman, outgoing and chatty. Seeing the CEO's assistant paying special attention to her beautiful young colleague, she immediately pulled Eve aside, smiling knowingly. "Hey, Eve, tell me honestly, does Assistant Tran have a crush on you?" Eve blushed, waving her hands. "No, not at all, Flora. He was just being kind and helping me." "Kind? I've been working here for years, and I've never seen Mr. Tran so enthusiastic with anyone like that." Flora narrowed her eyes, her expression full of meaning. "And honestly, in this company, there are a lot of funny actresses and models. I haven't seen anyone as pretty as you, Eve. No skin, no face, good figure too. How are you still stuck as a janitor?" Eve just smiled noncommittally. "You don't have any qualifications. Being a janitor is already very good, Flora." The two women worked and teased each other cheerfully, the heavy atmosphere from before seemingly vanishing. Eve felt fond of Flora's straightforwardness and enthusiasm. Having such a good colleague made the work less tiring. But the joy didn't last long before trouble struck again. As Eve and Flora were pushing a large trash bin from the 5th floor corridor to the collection area behind the building, they unexpectedly ran into the two female employees who had bullied Eve earlier that morning, Lily and her colleague. Having just been reprimanded by Kevin Tran and seeing Eve happily chatting and laughing with Flora, the two girls became even more furious, their eyes shooting daggers at Eve. best to avoid trouble, Flora whispered into Eve's ear, pulling her to walk faster to avoid complications. Eve didn't want any more entanglement either. She. E and Flora tried to squeeze past the two, pushing the trash bin Kataisky. But perhaps due to haste and the slightly slippery floor, Eve suddenly slipped. The heavy trash bin lost its balance and tilted sharply to one side. Just then, a tall man in an elegant black suit was walking out of the main entrance of the building. Eve couldn't react in time. She and the trash bin toppled towards the man. Ah! The terrified screams of Eve and Flora rang out. Thud! A loud noise echoed. The man was hit by Eve and the trash bin, stumbling back a few steps. Trash spilled from the bin, scattering onto his expensive suit and shiny leather shoes. Eve also fell sprawling on the floor, her knee hitting the hard tiles with a painful thud. Oh my God! The CEO Flora cried out in alarm, recognizing the man as Liam Fong, the company's notoriously cold and difficult CEO. Eve heard the words CEO, and her face turned deathly pale. She had caused a huge disaster, bumping into the CEO, dirtying his clothes. She would surely be fired this time. She tremblingly raised her head, intending to stammer an apology. But when her eyes met the man's face, all words caught in her throat. The chiseled features, the straight high nose, the deep eyes that held a hint of familiarity. It was him, the man from that fateful night 3 years ago. The man who had bought her for $500 million. Liam Fong was equally stunned. He had been annoyed by the prolonged meeting and fatty. Rose Hong's crying fit and disaster struck just as he stepped out. But when he clearly saw the face of the girl who had just crashed into him, he was completely frozen. It was her. The girl named Eve from that stormy night at the beach years ago. Still those large, round, dazed eyes. Still that simple, pure beauty. Though she looked much more haggard and worn now. For the past 3 years, though he tried not to think about her, the image of that girl still occasionally surfaced in his mind. He had sent people to look for her, had returned to that beach many times, but to no avail. He never expected fate to be so ironic, to let him meet her again in this situation, when she was a lowly janitor in his own company. 4 eyes met, and time seemed to stand still. Both were severely shocked by this unexpected reunion. Eve was the first to recover. The shameful past and the fear of being recognized overwhelmed her, sending her into an extreme panic. She didn't want to face him, didn't want him to know that the girl from years ago was now doing this menial job. Without a word, she struggled to her feet, ignoring the throbbing pain in her knee, turned, and fled for her life, disappearing into the crowd of dispersing employees outside the gate. Eve, where are you going? Flora called after her dazedly, but it was too late. Liam Fong stood rooted to the spot, watching Eve's hasty, panicked, retreating figure. He didn't chase after her. He knew what she was afraid of. Flora turned back, her face pale, profusely apologizing to Liam Fong. CEO! I'm sorry. Eve didn't mean to. The floor was too slippery. Please forgive us, CEO. Please don't fire her. She has to support her sick elderly mother. She's very pitiful. Flora trembled as she spoke, bending down to pick up the scattered trash from Liam Fong's clothes. The 2 employees, Lily and her friend, standing nearby, watched this scene gleefully, thinking that Eve was surely done for this time. But contrary to everyone's expectations, Liam Fong didn't get angry at all. He gently pushed Flora's hand away, perfunctorily brushing off the dirt from his suit jacket. The corner of his mouth unexpectedly curved into an enigmatic smile, a smile that held a hint of amusement and something akin to tenderness. It's all right. Just a small accident. His voice was still cold, but held no reproach. He turned to Flora. Her name is Eve, right? Works in the janitorial department? Yes. Yes, sir. Eve Nguyen, sir. Flora stammered, still terrified. Where is she from? Is she married? Liam Fong asked further, his gaze distant, fixed on the direction Eve had just fled. Flora was surprised by the CEO's question, but still answered truthfully. I think she's from the countryside, sir. Not married. I just see her alone, taking care of her sick mother. Her home address? Liam Fong asked his final question. Flora hesitated slightly, but seeing the CEO's apparently unangry demeanor, she recited the address of the boarding house area where Eve lived. Liam Fong mumbled the address, committing it to memory, then nodded. All right. You clean this up. With that, he turned and walked towards his luxurious car parked nearby, leaving Flora and the crowd of employees ekologiczki, bewildered, wondering what had just happened. The CEO was bumped into by a janitor, got his clothes dirty, and not only didn't get angry, but even asked for her home address. It was too strange. In the car, Liam Fong leaned back, against the seat, closing his eyes. The image of Eve with her panicked, pale face kept replaying in his mind. 3 years she had changed, but those clear eyes and pure features were still there. Why was she doing this job? Was her life that difficult? Wasn't the $500 million from that year enough for her to live better? Or had something happened? Countless questions arose in Liam Fong's mind. He felt an intense curiosity and also a bit of heartache. He took out his phone and called his assistant, Kevin Tran. Kevin, cancel my business trip to Korea next week. Why, boss? Isn't the contract over there very important? Kevin Tran asked in surprise. I have more important matters to attend to here, Liam Fong replied, his voice firm. From now on, I'll be diligently coming to the company more often. Kevin Tran on the other end of the line was even more puzzled. His boss, a notorious workaholic, but also someone who hated being tied down in an office, suddenly wanted to diligently come to the company? Something very special must have happened. During lunch break in the company cafeteria, Eve sat in a secluded corner, holding her simple lunchbox. But her mind was in turmoil. Her face still bore the panicked expression from the collision that morning. She couldn't forget Liam Fong's stunned look when he recognized her. He recognized her. He definitely did. Fear and shame consumed Eve. She was afraid he would reveal her disgraceful past to everyone. She was afraid of being fired, of losing her only source of income to care for her mother. Her mother still needed regular medication, still needed frequent checkups. If she lost her job, where would she get the money? Oh, God, please don't let him recognize me. Please let him act as if we've never met. Eve prayed silently. She just wanted to continue this quiet life, however hard and arduous. She didn't want that dark past to haunt her again. Flora, sitting opposite, saw Eve's absent-mindedness and anxiety and tried to reassure her. Don't worry anymore. I didn't see the CEO looking angry earlier. He even asked for your name, hometown, and all. What? He asked for my hometown and address? Eve grew even more frightened. What did he want? To come to her house? Yeah, I found it strange, too, but it's probably nothing. Our CEO, though cold, isn't a petty person. Flora tried to be optimistic, but a hint of suspicion lingered in her mind. Eve didn't feel any more at ease hearing that. She quickly finished her meal and rushed back to work, hoping to avoid Liam Fong as much as possible. Meanwhile, in the CEO's office, Liam Fong and Kevin Tran were sitting opposite each other. Kevin Tran couldn't hide his curiosity. Boss, suddenly canceling the Korea trip and even wanting to diligently come to the company. Is there something I don't know? Liam Fong sipped his coffee, smiling faintly. At this age, it's time to think about finding someone to settle down with. Kevin? Kevin Tran's eyes widened. Oh my! Boss, are you planning to get married? Who's the lucky one? An actress, a model, or some rich family's daughter? None of them. Liam Fong shook his head, his gaze distant. She's a very ordinary girl, but very special. How special? Tell me. Kevin Tran grew even more curious. In all their years of friendship, he had never seen Liam Fong act so strangely because of a girl. Liam Fong just smiled mysteriously, offering no further explanation. He stood up, picked up his suit jacket. I have to go out for a bit. You stay here and handle things. Hey, boss. Kevin Tran didn't get to ask more before Liam Fong quickly walked out the door. Liam Fong drove straight to the address of the boarding house area that Flora had provided. It was a small, deep alley lined with rows of dilapidated, closely packed rented rooms. He parked his car at the entrance of the alley and walked in. It wasn't hard to find the room at the end of the row with a small, lovely bougainvillea trellis in front of the door, just as Flora had described. He knocked on the door. A middle-aged woman with a kind, gentle, but somewhat pale and frail face opened it. It was Mrs. Lan, Eve's mother. Excuse me, ma'am. Is this Miss Eve's house? Liam Fong asked politely. Mrs. Lan looked at the well-dressed, unfamiliar man at her door in surprise. Yes, it is. And you are? I'm Liam Fong, CEO of the company where Eve works. Liam Fong introduced himself. I heard she's facing some difficulties and has to take care of you, ma'am, as you're ill, so I came by to check. Hearing this, Mrs. Lan quickly invited Liam Fong in. The rented room was small and narrow, with simple furniture, but neatly arranged and clean. Mrs. Lan poured water for her guest, her eyes unable to hide her unease. Oh my, for a CEO to come all the way here to visit, we feel truly uneasy. Did my Eve do something wrong? Not at all, ma'am. Eve works very well. I just wanted to learn more at my employees' circumstances. Liam Fong lied without blinking. After talking with Mrs. Lan for a while, Liam Fong gained a clearer understanding of the mother and daughter's arduous life. Mrs. Lan spoke of her serious illness, of Eve's filial piety and extraordinary resilience. She had to drop out of university midway to work and earn money for her mother's treatment, working as a janitor during the day and as a waitress at a cafe late into the night. She felt immense pity for her daughter, but didn't know what else to do. Listening to Mrs. Lane's heartfelt words, an indescribable emotion surged within Liam Fong. That girl had endured so much hardship and suffering. He remembered that night. She sold the most precious thing a girl possesses, just to save her mother. Yet, for the past 3 years, her life hadn't improved at all. Liam Fong took out his wallet, pulled out a thick wad of cash, and handed it to Mrs. Lan. I have a small gift for you, ma'am, for your health. Please don't refuse. Mrs. Lan waved her hands in alarm. Oh no, Mr. Fong. We can't accept this. The salary the company pays Eve is already very good. Please take it, ma'am. Consider it a token of the company's appreciation for an employee in difficult circumstances. Eve works hard and deserves this support. Liam Fong firmly placed the wad of cash into Mrs. Lan's hand. Seeing Liam Fong's sincerity, Mrs. Lan reluctantly accepted, thanking him profusely. She also unintentionally revealed more information. Eve is probably working part-time at the Queen Cafe nearby now. She works there until 11 p.m. every night before coming home. Hearing this valuable piece of information, Liam Fong tactfully bid farewell to Mrs. Lane and quickly left the boarding house area. He drove to the Queen Cafe, where Eve was working part-time. The cafe was small, simply decorated, but quite crowded. Liam Fong chose a secluded table in a corner, silently observing. And then he saw her. Eve was in the cafe's uniform, a brown apron, her hair tied up neatly, bustling about, taking orders from customers. Though tired, a service smile still graced her lips. Seeing her working so hard, his heart ached again. He sat there for a long time, ordering only a black coffee, silently watching her from afar. It was Eve's turn to serve his table. As she approached, looking up to ask if he needed anything else, her eyes met Liam Fong's familiar face. She was stunned, the glass of water in her hand almost falling to the floor. It was him. Why was he here? What was he doing here? In utter panic, Eve quickly turned, intending to flee to the counter. But Liam Fong was a step faster, calling out to her, "Miss Eve!" Eve froze, her heart pounding like a drum. She tried to remain calm, turned back, but didn't dare look him in the eye. She quickly took a medical mask from her apron pocket and put it on, covering almost half her face, hoping he wouldn't recognize her, or at least wouldn't be sure. "Excuse me, sir. What can I get for you?" She tried to speak as normally as possible, but her hands were clenched tightly, trembling. Liam Fong looked at the girl before him, trying to hide her identity with a mask, and a faint smile played on his lips. He knew very well it was her. He deliberately called her over again, ordering another coffee, just to have an excuse to look at her longer, to talk to her. "I'll have an iced milk coffee, light sugar," he said, his eyes never leaving her evasive ones. Eve took the order in extreme anxiety. She quickly returned to the counter, trying to keep her hands from shaking as she made his coffee. She hoped he was just a coincidental visitor, hoped he would leave soon. She didn't want to confront the past, didn't want him to bring up old matters. But Liam Fong had no intention of leaving. He waited patiently. When Eve, trembling, brought the iced milk coffee and placed it on the table, he looked directly into her eyes, his voice deep and warm, yet full of hidden meaning. "Long time no see. How have you been, Eve?" Those words struck Eve like a thunderbolt. He recognized her. There was no doubt anymore. All her attempts to hide, to evade, were futile. Liam Fong's friendly yet suggestive greeting left Eve speechless. The flimsy mask couldn't hide the confusion and fear in her eyes. She stammered, trying to deny it. Excuse me, sir. Are you mistaken? I don't know you." Liam Fong sipped his coffee, his eyes still fixed on her, a half-smile playing on his lips. "Mistaken? I remember very clearly a girl named Eve, on a stormy night 3 years ago, at a secluded beach." He deliberately emphasized each word, evoking the memory Eve most wanted to bury. Eve's face turned pale. She felt as if she had been stripped bare before him. Shame, humiliation, and fear made her want to disappear into the ground immediately. "I don't know what you're talking about. Excuse me." Eve turned, intending to flee once more. But this time, Liam Fong didn't let her go so easily. He stood up, blocking her path. His tall figure loomed over her, creating an invisible pressure. "How long do you plan to run from me, Eve?" His voice deepened, with a hint of reproach, and perhaps hurt. "I told you I don't know you. Get out of my way so I can work." Eve snapped, her voice full of anger and desperation. She didn't want any further entanglement with this man. That past was a stain. She didn't want anyone to dredge it up. Liam Fong didn't move aside. Instead, he took another step closer, narrowing the distance between them. He looked deeply into her tear-filled eyes. "Why are you avoiding me? Are you afraid I'll ask for the money from that year back?" Liam Fong's words seemed to hit Eve's hidden fear squarely. That's right. She remembered now. That year, it seemed he had overpaid her a not insignificant amount. She had been too panicked and rushed to care for her mother to notice. Now he had found her. Was it to demand that money back? 100 million! That was an enormous sum for her now. I'll pay you back, but please don't bother me anymore." Eve almost shouted, then slipped past him and ran straight into the staff break room, slamming the door shut. Liam Fong stood silently, watching the closed door. He had no intention of asking for the money back. He just wanted to know why she was living so miserably, what she had been through these past 3 years. But her evasiveness and fear left him feeling a little disappointed. Perhaps he had been too abrupt. He sighed, returned to his table, and silently finished his coffee. He decided not to force her anymore. He would give her time. But he wouldn't give up. He had to find out everything about her. That night, Eve worked in a state of anxiety and trepidation. She kept looking towards the door, afraid Liam Fong would return. Fortunately, he had left shortly after. When it was time to close, she packed her things and hurried home. The road from the cafe to her boarding house was quite deserted and dark. As she passed a small alley, Eve was suddenly blocked by a drunken man. He staggered towards her, reeking of alcohol, grinning lewdly. "Pretty little sister, where are you off to in such a hurry?" "Come play with me for a bit." Eve stepped back, faturies. "Get away from me! I'll scream!" "Scream! Go on, scream so everyone knows you're out late at night." The drunkard cackled, raising his dirty hand to touch her. Eve closed her eyes, preparing to scream, when suddenly a dark figure rushed forward, pushing the drunken man organizzazione. "Get lost!" It was Liam Fong. He had appeared out of nowhere, his face cold, his sharp eyes glaring at the drunken man. The drunkard, pushed unexpectedly, fell sprawling to the ground. Seeing Liam Fong, tall, well-dressed, and seemingly not to be trifled with, he scrambled up, cursed a few times, and ran off, disappearing from sight. Eve was still in shock. Why was he here? Was he following her? Liam Fong turned back to Eve, saw she was still trembling, and said softly, "Are you okay?" Eve looked at him, her emotions a complex mix. He had just saved her, but his sudden and persistent appearance made her feel more uneasy than grateful. "Why are you here? Were you following me?" she asked, a hint of reproach in her voice. "I was just passing by coincidentally," Liam Fong replied, his eyes sincere. "Seeing you walking alone on this deserted road, I wasn't at ease." Eve didn't believe him, but she didn't want to argue further. She just wanted to get home quickly. "Thank you for your help. I'm going home now," she said, and hurried off. Liam Fong said nothing, silently following her, keeping a comfortable distance. He wanted to ensure she got home safely. Reaching her rented room's door, Eve turned to Liam Fong, her voice firm. "I'm home now. You can go." Liam Fong nodded. "All right. Go on in." Eve opened the door and stepped inside, intending to close it immediately, but her mother came out from inside. "Eve, you're back? Mr. Fong is here looking for you," Mrs. Lan said cheerfully, gesturing towards Liam Fong. Eve was stunned. He had come here to see her mother? Mrs. Lan, oblivious to her daughter's troubled expression, turned to Liam Fong. "Mr. Fong has been waiting for her for a while. Come on in and sit for a bit." "No, thank you, ma'am. I should be going." Liam Fong politely declined. He knew Eve didn't want to see him. Before leaving, he turned to Mrs. Lan and said quietly, "The money I gave you this afternoon, ma'am, please keep it and use it. Don't tell Eve." With that, he nodded a farewell to Mrs. Lan and Eve, then turned and left. Eve stood rooted to the spot in front of the door. What did her mother just say? Liam Fong came looking for her and gave her mother money? She quickly pulled her mother inside, questioning her urgently. "Mom, when did he come? What did he say to you? What money did he give you?" Mrs. Lan was surprised by her daughter's attitude. "Mr. Fong came this afternoon. He's your company's CEO. Just came to check on me. He's very kind, even gave me money for my health." Mrs. Lon took out the wad of cash Liam Fong had given her. Seeing the thick wad of cash in her mother's hand, Eve grew even more bewildered and angry. What did he ultimately want? To use money to get close to her mother, or to compensate for his past mistake? Whatever it was, she didn't want to accept this charity. "Mom, why did you take his money? I told you I can manage on my own." Eve snatched the money from her mother's hand, but he said it was a token from the company. Mrs. Lon looked bewildered. "What company gives a janitor this much money?" "Give it back to me, Mom. I'll take it to the company tomorrow and return it to him," Eve declared resolutely. She didn't want to owe this man anything, neither money nor favors. The next morning, Eve brought the 50 million Liam Fong had given her mother to the company very early. She waited in the reception lobby, hoping to meet Liam Fong to return the money before work started. But she waited, and still, there was no sign of him. Kevin Tran passed by, saw her standing there hesitantly, and asked if she needed anything. She just said she had some personal business. When it was time for work, Eve had no choice but to put the wad of cash into the pocket of her uniform jacket, intending to find another opportunity to return it to Liam Fong during the day. She had no idea that her act of putting the money into her jacket pocket had accidentally caught the eye of two people harboring malicious intent. Rose Hong and Lily, the two female employees who had been reprimanded by Kevin Tran for bullying Eve, still harbored resentment. Seeing Eve, a country bumpkin janitor, being defended and even seemingly receiving special attention from the CEO's assistant, their jealousy and envy intensified. That morning, as they passed through the reception lobby, they happened to see Eve furtively tucking a rather thick wad of cash into her jacket pocket. Their eyes met, and a dark thought loody in their minds. "Where did that girl get so much money?" Lily whispered to Rose Hong as they entered the elevator. Rose Hong sneered, her voice full of contempt. "Probably doing something shady. Country girls come to the city, and their eyes light up at the sight of money. Or maybe it's money from Assistant Tran?" That thought made Lily even angrier. She had feelings for Kevin Tran, but he had been cold towards her. Now, seeing him seemingly interested in Eve, Lily couldn't help but feel jealous. "We can't let that girl get away with it. We have to teach her a lesson," Rose Hong said, her eyes glinting with malice. "Look at her bulging jacket pocket. It must be tens of millions." The two looked at each other, a tacit understanding passing between them. A wicked plan quickly formed in their minds. While Eve was concentrating on cleaning the third-floor corridor, oblivious to her surroundings, Rose Hong and Lily quietly approached from behind. Rose Hong pretended to slip, bumping into Eve and causing her to stumble. Taking advantage of Eve's distraction, Lily quickly reached into Eve's jacket pocket, deftly hooked out the wad of cash, and swiftly hid it in her own handbag. "Ouch! Sorry about that," Rose Hong said feignedly. Then she and Lily hurried away, as if nothing had happened. Eve only felt slightly annoyed at being bumped into. She had no idea she had just been pickpocketed. She continued her work until the end of the morning shift. During the lunch break, Eve went down to the cafeteria. When she reached for money to buy an extra cup of yogurt, she fumbled in her jacket pocket and was horrified to discover the 50 million wad of cash was gone. "Money! Where's my money?" Eve frantically searched all her pockets, but it was nowhere to be found. Her face turned ashen, her heart pounding. 50 million. That was the money she intended to return to Liam Fong. If she lost this money, where would she find the means to repay it? She tried to recall if she had dropped it somewhere. She ran back to the third-floor corridor, searching every corner, asking people working nearby. But no one had seen anything. Flora saw Eve's pale face and her frantic rushing around and asked worriedly, "What's wrong, Eve?" "What are you looking for?" "Money, Flora." "I lost my money." 50 million! Eve burst into tears, her voice full of despair. Flora was also alarmed. 50 million was a fortune for laborers like them. Oh my God! How could you be so careless? Where did you keep the money to lose it? I kept it in my jacket pocket. I took it out to look at it this morning. Eve sobbed as she recounted. Oh no! Maybe you were pickpocketed. Did anyone bump into you this morning? Flora tried to jog her memory. Eve suddenly remembered the collision with Rose Hong that morning. Could it be them? She had no proof. The two women rushed down to the security office for help. The kind-hearted old security guard listened to their story and enthusiastically accompanied them back to the third floor to search again, but still to no avail. Just then, Liam Fong came out of his office, intending to go down to the cafeteria for lunch. Seeing Eve sobbing, her face pale, with Flora and the security guard looking worried beside her, he immediately walked over and asked, "What happened?" Seeing Liam Fong, Eve felt even more aggrieved and frightened. She bowed her head, not daring to look at him, tears streaming down her face. Flora had to explain the situation to Liam Fong. After listening, Liam Fong frowned. 50 million. He remembered the wad of cash he had given Mrs. Lan the day before. This must be the money Eve intended to return to him. This foolish girl, poor yet so proud. He looked at Eve, who was sobbing uncontrollably, and felt a pang of pity. He stepped closer to her, his voice softening. "Stop crying. If it's lost, it's lost. Consider it my loss. I'll make it up to you." Eve looked up, her red-rimmed eyes meeting his, and shook her head vigorously. "No, I don't need you to make it up. That's money I have to return to you. I don't want to owe you." Her determination and self-respect made Liam Fong feel both angry and fond. He turned to the security guard, his voice becoming stern. "Check all security cameras in the third-floor corridor and the lobby area from this morning. Also, inform all company employees that, temporarily, no one is allowed to leave the building until this money is found. Anyone deliberately misappropriating a colleague's property, if discovered, will be immediately fired and reported to the police." The CEO's order was issued, and the entire company buzzed with "N." The security guard immediately went to check the cameras. Department heads informed their staff. Rose Hong and Lily's faces changed color upon hearing the news, but they tried to remain calm. They hadn't expected Liam Fong to make such a big deal out of it, just for a janitor. The camera check took a long time due to many blind spots. While waiting, Liam Fong requested the security department to coordinate with department managers to quickly inspect the handbags and personal belongings of all employees present on the third floor at the time of the incident. Rose Hong and Lily's hearts pounded, but they pretended to cooperate. When security checked Rose Hong's handbag, they found a wad of cash neatly wrapped in tissue paper. "What money is this, Ms. Hong?" the security guard asked. Rose Hong snatched her handbag back, her chin held high. "It's my money. What else would it be?" "I just got paid. Withdrew money for shopping? What's wrong with that? What right do you have to search my belongings?" "We are just following the CEO's orders. Please cooperate," Kevin Tran, who was also present, reminded her. He looked at the wad of cash in Rose Hong's bag, then at Eve standing nearby, a hint of suspicion in his mind. "Cooperate with what? Are you suspecting me of stealing her money? Look at my status. The future business director of Prosperity Incorporated. Why would I need her spare change?" Rose Hong shouted insults, deliberately demeaning Eve. Eve heard this and could only bow her head in silence, tears welling up again. Liam Fong had been observing with his arms crossed, his cold gaze sweeping over Rose Hong. He said nothing, but the invisible pressure from him made Rose Hong falter. not daring to act recklessly anymore. However, the wad of cash in Rose Hong's bag was only 25 million, and it was indeed money she had withdrawn from the bank that morning, complete with a receipt. She had planned ahead, dividing the stolen money with Lily and hiding her share elsewhere. Lily, on the other hand, had quickly hidden the remaining 25 million in a discreet spot in the women's restroom. The inspection and search lasted through the entire lunch break, but still failed to find the remaining 25 million. The security camera at the exact spot where Rose Hong and Lily had acted was obscured by a blind spot, failing to capture the decisive moment. Without concrete evidence, Liam Fong couldn't accuse anyone. The case of the missing money had to be temporarily shelved, much to Eve's dismay and Rose Hong and Lily's secret delight. Eve felt tired and helpless. She had not only lost money, but also felt hurt by the suspicion and contempt. Liam Fong saw Eve's sad, disappointed face and couldn't help feeling uneasy. He knew she was being wronged. He approached her, intending to offer some words of comfort. "Don't be sad anymore. I'll have someone continue to investigate this matter. I'll definitely get justice for you." Liam Fong stood before Eve, his deep, warm voice carrying sincere comfort. Eve looked up, meeting his deep eyes. She saw genuine concern in them, unlike usual social niceties. But her grievance and sense of inferiority had prevented her from opening up. "Thank you, CEO, but it's all right. Let's just say I was unlucky. That money, I'll try to work to pay you back." Her voice was choked, but still full of determination. Liam Fong sighed softly. This girl was so stubborn. He raised his hand, intending to gently stroke her slightly messy hair, but then pulled it back. That gesture was perhaps inappropriate here, at this moment. "I told you, you don't need to pay it back. That was money I willingly gave your mother. Consider it my way of atoning for my unease about what happened 3 years ago." Liam Fong lowered his voice, just enough for the two of them to hear. His words stunned Eve. He felt uneasy? About what? About buying her? Or about abandoning her after that night? Whatever it was, his bringing up the past again made her uncomfortable. "I don't need your unease, nor do I need your money. I can manage on my own," Eve said, then turned and walked away, not wanting to hear another word from him. Liam Fong watched her small but resilient retreating figure, shaking his head slightly. This girl, the more difficult things became, the stronger she appeared, making others want to shelter and protect her even more. That afternoon, Eve's work felt heavier due to her gloomy mood. She tried to concentrate, but the image of the lost money and the gleeful expressions of Rose Hong and Lily kept replaying in her mind. She felt tired and lonely in this large company. After work, Eve quietly packed her things, preparing to go to the cafe for her evening shift. As she stepped out of the company gate, Liam Fong's familiar car was already parked there. The window rolled down, and Liam Fong looked at her. "Get in. I'll take you to work." Eve was surprised, then immediately refused. "No need, sir. I can go by myself. It's about to rain. Get in. Don't be stubborn." Liam Fong was patient. Indeed, dark clouds were gathering, signaling an impending downpour. Eve looked at the sky, then at Liam Fong. She didn't want to go with him, but walking or taking the bus in the rain would be very difficult, and she might be late for work. Finally, she reluctantly opened the car door and got in. The atmosphere in the car became suffocating again, just like the first time they met. Eve turned her face to the window, trying to ignore the presence of the man beside her. Liam Fong also drove in silence, occasionally glancing at her through the rearview mirror. "You still haven't answered my question from this afternoon." Liam Fong suddenly broke the silence. "Which question, sir?" Eve pretended not to understand. "Why don't you want to accept my help? Do you hate me that much?" Liam Fong's voice held a hint of self-mockery. Eve turned to look at him, her eyes complex. I don't hate you, but I don't want anything to do with you anymore. What happened 3 years ago, I want to forget it. And I don't want to owe you anything else. Oh, Liam Fong chuckled softly. You think that 50 million debt is large. What about the 400 million debt from years ago? How do you plan to repay me that? Eve was stunned. He was talking about the money he paid for her back then. Did he want that back too? Her face turned ashen. Her lips trembled. You want that money back too? Seeing her panicked expression, Liam Fong knew he had teased her too much. He quickly explained, I didn't mean that. I just wanted to say that, between us, it's perhaps not just about money. He stopped the car in front of Queen Cafe. Turning to Eve, his eyes softened. You may not need my money, but don't refuse my kindness. At least, let me compensate in some way for what you've been through. Eve looked deeply into his eyes, trying to find deceit, but only saw sincerity. Her heart was in turmoil. What kind of person was he? Cold and ruthless when he bought her, yet gentle and caring when they met again. I don't know, Eve mumbled. Liam Fong smiled faintly. If you don't know, then take your time to find out. Now, go to work. Eve opened the car door and got out. Before she closed it, Liam Fong called after her, I'll pick you up after work. No need. Eve quickly refused. Well then, if you don't want to owe me money, you can repay me in another way. Liam Fong winked, his voice full of hidden meaning. For example, a kiss to clear the debt? Eve's face flushed crimson at his bold teasing. She glared at him, then slammed the car door shut and hurried into the cafe. Liam Fong watched her embarrassed figure and burst out laughing. This girl was truly interesting. Throughout her evening shift, Eve's mind reeled with Liam Fong's words and actions. He was so strange. Sometimes cold and distant, other times gentle and caring, even teasing her in ways that made her blush. What did he ultimately want from her? But undeniably, his presence, though causing much turmoil, also gave her a feeling of being sheltered. For the first time in the 3 years, someone stood up for her, cared for her, even if it was the man from her dark past. She felt incredibly conflicted and confused. At exactly 11 p.m., as Eve had just changed out of her uniform and was about to close the cafe, Liam Fong was already waiting outside. This time he hadn't driven, he had walked. Why are you here? Eve asked, surprised. I told you I'd pick you up. Liam Fong smiled. Let's go. I'll take you home. But you didn't drive. I'll walk you home. Consider it an evening exercise. Liam Fong shrugged. Eve looked at him, then at the deserted road ahead. Thinking about being accosted by the drunkard the previous night, she hesitated. Perhaps having him with her would be safer. She said nothing, silently walking with him towards her boarding house. The road at night was quiet. The dim, yellow streetlights cast their glow on the two figures walking side by side. No one spoke, but the atmosphere was no longer as suffocating as it had been in the car earlier. A comfortable silence permeated between them. Halfway there, as they neared the dark alley from the previous night, Eve instinctively slowed down, looking around with a wary gaze. Liam Fong noticed her anxiety. Don't be afraid. I'm here, he said softly, his voice reassuring. But Eve's fear was not unfounded. From the alley, 3 men with menacing faces and covered in tattoos emerged, blocking their path. They didn't look like the drunkard from the previous night, but more like addicts, street thugs. Where are you two going at this hour? Got any money? Spare some for us brothers to spend. One of them, seemingly the leader, spoke, his voice hoarse. Eve was terrified, instinctively huddling closer to Liam Fong. She knew these addicts were reckless. They would do anything for drug money. She worried for Liam Fong. He was alone, well-dressed, an easy target for them. But Liam Fong appeared completely calm. He pulled Eve behind him, faced the three thugs, his voice ice cold. Want money. Go earn it yourselves. Oh, this one's tough, huh? The leader sneered. You don't know what's good for you. Hand over all your money and phones, or don't blame us for being impolite. The other two also advanced, surrounding Liam Fong and Eve. The situation looked quite dangerous. Liam Fong still showed no fear. He smirked, a challenging smile. Oh? Impolite? How? What are you three going to do to me? Eve, behind him, was anxious. Why was he provoking them? She tugged lightly at Liam Fong's shirt, whispering, Don't anger them. It's dangerous. But something unexpected happened. Instead of cowering, Eve stepped forward, positioning herself in front of Liam Fong, facing the three thugs. She took a deep breath, her eyes becoming sharp and unusually determined. Want to touch him? You'll have to go through me first, she declared firmly. Liam Fong looked at the small girl shielding him in surprise. Just moments ago, she was trembling with fear. How had she suddenly become so strong and brave? The three thugs were equally surprised. They looked at the beautiful girl with murderous eyes before them, hesitating slightly. This little girl's got guts. Bold, huh? The leader sneered. But what do you think you can do to us? Try me and see, Eve retorted, her fists clenched, ready to fight. Liam Fong observed Eve's stance, astonished. She knew martial arts? He began to feel the situation might not be as bad as he thought. In fact, it was somewhat interesting. He took a step back, crossed his arms, and smiled, watching his girl prepare to handle the addicts. The three addicts, seeing Eve, a seemingly weak girl, daring to challenge them, sneered and lunged forward. The leader swung his hand, intending to slap her, but Eve nimbly dodged, simultaneously delivering a vicious kick to his groin. Ah! The leader screamed in pain, clutching his crotch as he crumpled to the ground. The other two were stunned, never expecting the frail-looking girl to strike with such force and precision. Before they could recover, Eve spun around, driving her elbow hard into the second man's stomach, causing him to double over in pain. The last one, terrified, tried to flee, but Eve quickly rushed forward, taking him down with a skillful arm lock. In less than a minute, the three burly thugs were neatly incapacitated by Eve. She dusted off her hands, panting, and turned to look at Liam Fong, who was still standing there with his arms crossed, grinning. You, what are you smiling at? Why didn't you help me? Eve reproached, but her face flushed slightly with embarrassment. She didn't want him to see her in this heroine state. Liam Fong walked over, his eyes full of admiration and amusement. I never knew you were so formidable, Eve. Looks like I worried for nothing. Who needs your worry? Eve glared at him. It's because you kept provoking them that things got this bad. Just then, the leader and the second man, Saint, wriggled to their feet. Seeing their accomplice beaten sensibilidad, they didn't dare rush in again, but shouted angrily, You little brat! Just you wait. I'll call my brothers to deal with you. With that, the three of them supported each other and fled towards the dark alley. Eve watched them go, a little worried. She knew these types often moved in gangs. If they called for more people, she and Liam Fong would have a hard time dealing with them. Oh no! They've gone to get more people! Let's run! Quickly! Eve grabbed Liam Fong's hand, but Liam Fong remained calm, even a bit cocky. What's there to be afraid of? I can handle any number of those small fries. He was still impressed by Eve's martial arts display, and his masculine urge to show off was kicking in. Are you crazy? There'll be a lot of them. Run! Eve didn't bother arguing, pulling Liam Fong's hand forcefully and running for her life in the opposite direction. Liam Fong, pulled unexpectedly, had no choice but to run with her. After running a short distance, they heard the roar of motorcycles and shouts of a SWAT from behind. The addicts had returned with their gang, larger and more aggressive. See? I told you! Eve panted as she ran, reproaching him. I know! Where do we run now? Liam Fong also began to see the situation was not good. They ran blindly, turning into one alley after another to shake off their pursuers. Finally, exhausted and no longer hearing the motorcycles behind them, they stopped, panting, in front of a small, rather old and shady-looking motel. Phew, we lost them. Eve leaned on her knees, gasping for breath. Liam Fong was also out of breath. He looked at the flickering dim sign of Tranquility Motel, then at Eve, sweaty and flushed from exertion, and impulsively suggested, "How about we rest here for a bit?" Eve looked up at the motel sign, her face flushing. A motel? With him? She immediately waved her hands. No! No way. If we go in there, people will think. Think what? Liam Fong grinned mischievously. Think we're a pair of lovers looking for a place to get intimate? You! Eve, embarrassed, lightly hit his arm. Don't talk nonsense. Well, the truth is, we're being chased and need a safe place to hide, Liam Fong said nonchalantly. Besides, look at you. So tired. You need to rest and regain your strength. Are you planning to wander the streets all night? Eve looked at herself, clothes disheveled, soaked in sweat, her limbs aching. He had a point. Wandering the streets at this hour was very dangerous. Those guys could come back looking for them at any moment. Going back to her rented room was even more out of the question. It would worry her mother. But Eve still hesitated. Sharing a motel room with a man, especially one with such a particular past with her, was truly awkward. How about we rent 2 rooms? Liam Fong suggested, as if reading her mind. Eve nodded vigorously. Yes! Rent 2 rooms. So, the 2 of them entered the motel. The motel owner, a middle-aged woman who seemed experienced, looked at the young, beautiful couple, albeit disheveled and sweaty, entering late at night, and gave a knowing smile. Renting a room, dears? Overnight or by the hour? 2 rooms for the night, please, Liam Fong replied, handing over his ID. The owner glanced at the ID, then at Liam Fong and Eve, smiling slyly. Oh dear, why rent 2 rooms so wasteful? We've just run out of single rooms, only 1 double room left. It's spacious, clean, and even has a newly acquired love chair. Love chair? Eve asked, bewildered. She had never heard of such a chair. The owner burst out laughing. Oh, this little girl is so innocent. You don't know what a love chair is? It's a special chair that helps you two. She leaned close to Eve's ear and whispered a few sentences. Eve's face immediately turned as red as a ripe gack fruit. She was so embarrassed she wanted to find a hole to crawl into. A love chair had such special uses? Oh my God. No, I don't need that chair. Do you have any other rooms, ma'am? Eve stammered, refusing. All gone, dear. Only that room left at this hour. How about you two stay there temporarily? Where else can you find a place at this time of night? The owner continued to enthusiastically persuade them. Liam Fong, standing beside her, tried to suppress his laughter at Eve's adorably embarrassed expression. He turned to the owner. We'll take that room then, ma'am. You? Eve turned to glare at Liam Fong. Why take that room? Well, there are no other rooms left. Liam Fong shrugged. Besides, I'm also curious to see what that love chair is like. He deliberately teased her. Eve was furious to the point of her face turning purple, but she couldn't do anything. Leaving now, she wouldn't know where to go. Those addicts might still be lurking outside. She reluctantly agreed to share a room with Liam Fong, in a room with that bizarre love chair. Receiving the key from the owner with a knowing smile, Liam Fong and Eve went upstairs. The double room wasn't very large, simply furnished, but quite clean. And just as the owner had said, in the corner of the room, a chair with a strange curved shape immediately caught Eve's eye. She quickly turned her face away, ran straight into the bathroom, and slammed the door shut. The sound of rushing water echoed out. Liam Fong stood outside the door, chuckling. This girl was truly too innocent and adorable. Tonight was going to be a long night. Eve stayed in the bathroom for quite a while. She washed her face, trying to cool down the burning sensation on her cheeks and her wildly beating heart. Sharing a room with Liam Fong was embarrassing enough, and then there was that love chair. She dared not imagine if, by any chance. No, that couldn't happen. When she came out of the bathroom, Liam Fong had taken off his suit jacket and was only wearing a white shirt, sleeves rolled up to his elbows, looking both elegant and somewhat casual. He was standing by the window, looking out at the night. Seeing her emerge, he turned around, smiling. "Finished your shower?" "My turn?" Eve nodded shyly, quickly climbed onto the only bed in the room, pulled the blanket up to her neck, turned her face to the wall, and pretended to be asleep. She heard Liam Fong softly whistling as he went into the bathroom, then the sound of running water. Her heart began to race again. A moment later, Liam Fong came out, wearing only a towel around his waist, revealing the firm, muscular physique of a man who exercised regularly. He walked to the bed, looked at the girl curled up under the blanket, and chuckled softly. "Hey, are you planning to take up the whole bed?" Eve flinched, but still didn't dare turn around. I'm sleeping here." You sleep on the sofa." She pointed to the small armchair in the corner of the room. Liam Fong raised an eyebrow. "The sofa? Are you heartless enough to make your savior sleep cramped on that tiny chair?" "Who's your savior?" Eve retorted, but her voice was weak. "So it was you?" Liam Fong laughed. "All right, heroine who saved my life. Then you should treat me even better. This bed is wide enough for two." Without waiting for Eve's protest, Liam Fong lifted the blanket and lay down beside her. The bed sank under his weight. Eve could feel his warmth and the faint masculine scent emanating from him. She froze, not daring to move. "Don't worry. I won't do anything to you. Unless you want me to." Liam Fong leaned close to her ear, whispering teasingly. Eve, embarrassed, buried her face deeper into the pillow, not daring to utter a word. Liam Fong, seeing her silence, didn't tease her further. He lay on his back, looking up at the ceiling. They both remained silent like that for a long time. Perhaps because she had been so tired and stressed all day, coupled with a strange sense of security with Liam Fong lying beside her, Eve gradually drifted off to sleep without realizing it. The next morning, the early sunlight streamed through the gap in the curtains, waking Eve. She groggily opened her eyes, feeling something warm and heavy arm her. She looked down in bewilderment and found herself nestled in Liam Fong's arms, her head resting on his firm arm. He was fast asleep, his sleeping face looking so gentle and peaceful, completely different from his usual cold demeanor. "Ah!" Eve let out a small, startled cry, quickly pushed his arm away, and sat bolt upright. What had happened last night? Why was she sleeping in his arms like this? Her movement woke Liam Fong. He opened his eyes, saw Eve's panicked expression, and gave a mischievous smile. "Good morning, Sleeping Beauty. Did you sleep well last night?" Why was I? Eve stammered, her face flushed. "Why were you in my arms?" Liam Fong deliberately drawled. "It's because last night you were sleep-talking, kept rolling over and hugging me tightly, even calling someone's name. I was afraid you'd fall off the bed, so I had to hold you while I slept. I. I called whose name in my sleep? Eve asked innocently. You called Fong. Liam Fong. He leaned his face close to hers, grinning. You're lying. Eve knew he was teasing her. Embarrassed, she pushed him away, quickly jumped out of bed, and ran into the bathroom. Liam Fong watched her flustered figure and laughed cheerfully. Teasing this girl was truly enjoyable. After they both finished their morning routines, Liam Fong went down to the reception to pay for the room. The owner saw them coming down together and smiled knowingly again. See, I told you. Staying in one room is much more affectionate, isn't it? Eve just wanted to disappear. She pulled Liam Fong's hand and hurried out of the motel. Where to now? Liam Fong asked. I have to go home and see how Mom is, Eve replied. All right. But first, breakfast. You must be starving after all that activity last night. Liam Fong started teasing again. Eve glared at him but didn't object. They found a nearby PHO restaurant and had breakfast. The meal was quiet, but the atmosphere was less tense than the previous night. After eating, Liam Fong took Eve to the entrance of her alleyway. You don't need to come in. If my mom sees you, she'll ask a lot of questions, Eve said. Liam Fong nodded. All right. You go on in. I'll be at the company this afternoon. Eve looked at him, hesitating slightly. About last night. Thank you. You're welcome. Protecting my girlfriend is my responsibility. Liam Fong smiled. Who's your girlfriend? Eve blushed again, quickly turning and running into the alley. Liam Fong stood watching her, the smile on his lips widening. He knew that girl's heart was gradually stirring. Returning to her daily life, Eve continued her 2 jobs, but her heart no longer felt as heavy as before. The image of Liam Fong, his words and actions, lingered in her mind. She couldn't deny that she was starting to have different feelings for him. She confided in Flora about her concerns, but didn't dare specify who it was. Flora, do you think someone like me could love someone from a different class? Flora was surprised. Why not? Love doesn't discriminate by class, does it? What matters is whether you two genuinely have feelings for each other. Are you interested in someone? Is it Assistant Tran? Eve quickly waved her hands. No, not at all, Flora. I was just asking randomly. Meanwhile, in the CEO's office, Liam Fong was talking to Kevin Tran about reorganizing the company's personnel. Kevin, what do you think of Eve from the janitorial department? Liam Fong suddenly asked. Kevin Tran was a bit surprised by his boss's question, but still answered honestly. Eve? I think she's gentle, hardworking, and seems very resilient. Is something wrong, boss? I'm thinking of moving her to a more suitable position, Liam Fong said, a hint of tenderness in his eyes. Really? That's good. I think she deserves it. Kevin Tran nodded in agreement. He also had a good impression of Eve. But not an ordinary office staff position. Liam Fong continued, his voice full of hidden meaning. Then what position, sir? Kevin Tran was curious. Liam Fong looked directly into Kevin Tran's eyes, slowly enunciating each word. The position of my wife. Liam Fong's words stunned Kevin Tran. Wife? The CEO wanted to marry the janitor Eve? This was truly unbelievable. Boss, are you joking? Kevin Tran stammered, trying to hide his surprise and a touch of disappointment. He admitted he also had feelings for Eve, but had never dared to think further. Now, hearing Liam Fong's bold declaration, he felt a sense of loss. Liam Fong looked at Kevin Tran's expression and chuckled softly. Do I look like I'm joking? But, isn't this too sudden, boss? You two haven't known each other for long. Kevin Tran still tried to find a reason. Time doesn't matter. Feelings do, Liam Fong replied firmly. All right, let's not discuss this anymore. Let's go to the cafeteria for lunch. I'm hungry. With that, Liam Fong stood up, slung his arm over Kevin Tran's shoulder, and pulled him along, leaving the assistant still dazed and confused. The appearance of the CEO and his assistant in the cafeteria during lunchtime immediately attracted everyone's attention, especially Eve and Flora, who were eating in a corner. Liam Fong and Kevin Tran rarely ate in the company cafeteria. Liam Fong scanned the room, quickly locating Eve. He pulled Kevin Tran straight towards her table. Are there any empty seats here? Can we sit with you? Liam Fong smiled at Eve, his eyes full of playful teasing. Eve jumped, looking up at the two top bosses standing before her face flushing crimson. Flora beside her was equally surprised. Yes, of course. Please, have a seat, sirs, Flora quickly replied. Thus, the table that usually seated two women suddenly had the two most powerful men in the company. The atmosphere became a bit awkward and tense. Liam Fong sat down opposite Eve, his gaze constantly on her in affection. He put food into her bowl, asked if she was enjoying the meal, completely ignoring the curious stares at her. Kevin Tran sat beside her, watching this scene with mixed feelings. He also wanted to show concern for Eve, but couldn't be as natural as Liam Fong. He could only quietly put a piece of spring roll into her bowl, asking softly, "This is delicious, try some." Eve sat between the two men, feeling extremely awkward. Liam Fong's attention made her shy, while Kevin Tran's regard made her feel a little uneasy. She could only keep her head down and eat quickly, wishing for the meal to end soon. Flora, witnessing the entire scene, silently understood everything. It seemed her little sister Eve truly had a peach blossom fate, attracting both the CEO and his assistant. She was happy for her, yet also a little worried. This love triangle would likely not be easy. Finally, unable to bear the strange atmosphere any longer, Eve hastily stood up. I'm done eating. Excuse me, I'll go up first. With that, she practically fled the cafeteria, leaving the two men and Flora staring after her in bewilderment. Liam Fong watched Eve's hurried retreating figure, shaking his head and smiling faintly. Kevin Tran sighed, a hint of sadness in his eyes. The battle for the beauty's heart seemed far from simple. Meanwhile, in another corner of the cafeteria, Rose Hong and Lily were having lunch and had witnessed the entire drama. Jealousy flared up in them again. That Eve girl is truly a vixen. She hasn't been working here long and has already seduced both the CEO and his assistant, Lily said through gritted teeth, her hand gripping her chopsticks tightly. She still couldn't forget Kevin Tran's coldness and the image of him caring for Eve. Rose Hong was equally furious. She had spent so much effort and money pursuing Liam Fong, but he hadn't even glanced her way, and now he was interested in a country bumpkin cleaner. We can't let her get away with it. We have to find a way to teach her a lesson, to make her know her place. The two girls began whispering again, plotting new schemes against Eve. This time, they were determined to ruin Eve's reputation and get her out of the company. In the following days, the unspoken competition between Liam Fong and Kevin Tran for Eve's affection became increasingly apparent. Both tried to show their concern in different ways. Liam Fong was more open and direct. He frequently appeared where Eve worked, finding excuses to talk to her, tease her. He also bought her breakfast and drinks. He even gifted her a brand new, expensive pair of Nike sneakers, claiming he saw her old shoes were torn. Kevin Tran was more discreet and subtle. He knew Eve often had to push heavy carts, so he quietly adjusted the security guards' schedules so someone would be there to help her when needed. He also often asked Flora about Eve's mother's health, occasionally sending some local delicacies for her. He also bought a pair of shoes. But they were soft-soled ballerina flats, gentle and feminine in style, asking Flora to give them to Eve with the message, "I see you walk a lot. Wear these shoes so your feet won't hurt." Flora, receiving 2 pairs of shoes from the 2 powerful men, felt incredibly awkward. She knew both genuinely liked Eve, but she leaned more towards Kevin Tran. Because Kevin Tran had promised her that if she helped him win over Eve, he would find a way to transfer her to an easier, higher-paying job in the logistics department. That tempting promise had swayed Flora. She decided to help Kevin Tran. When giving the shoes to Eve, she only gave Kevin Tran's pair and lied, "These are a gift from Assistant Tran. He's liked you for a long time and asked me to tell you he really likes you." As for Liam Fong's expensive Nike sneakers, Flora quietly threw them into a trash can in a secluded corner of the storage room where few people went. She thought that by doing so, Eve would be moved by Kevin Tran's gesture and lean more towards him. She never imagined her selfish act would cause a terrible misunderstanding later. Eve received the ballerina flats from Flora, and hearing her words, couldn't help but feel flustered. Kevin Tran liked her? She only saw him as a kind older brother, a respectable superior, and had never thought of romantic feelings. She guiltily refused. "No, Flora, I can't accept them. I don't have any feelings for Mr. Tran. Please return them for me." "Hey, why refuse someone's kindness like that?" Flora tried to persuade her. "Mr. Tran is handsome, talented, and kind-hearted. If you could be with him, you'd be so lucky. Just accept them. Consider it a get-to-know-you gift." Eve remained firm in her refusal. She didn't want to give hope to someone she didn't love. She gave the shoebox back to Flora, asking her to return it to Kevin Tran with her sincere apologies and thanks. That afternoon, as Eve was helping Flora push a large trash bin from the storage room to the collection area, she accidentally saw a brand new pair of white and pink Nike sneakers lying among the trash. The shoes looked very nice and seemed very new. Beside them was a small, crumpled card on which was handwritten, slightly smudged text, "To my princess." Eve picked up the shoes, her mind full of questions. Who would throw away such beautiful new shoes? And this card? "My princess?" It sounded so cheesy. It must be some couple who had a fight and threw away the gift. Seeing the shoes were still in good condition and her size, Eve felt it was a waste and decided to take them home. She thought she would wash them and use them for work daily, replacing her old, almost torn canvas shoes. She had no idea that these were the very gift Liam Fong had painstakingly chosen for her. The next day, Eve wore the newly found Nike sneakers to work. The shoes fit perfectly, were comfortable, and made walking much easier. She also brought Kevin Tran's shoebox, intending to go to his office to return it and clarify things. As she stepped out of the elevator on the executive floor, she unexpectedly met Liam Fong coming out of a meeting room. Seeing the shoes Eve was wearing, Liam Fong froze. Weren't those the shoes he bought for her? How did she have them? "Eve, these shoes!" Liam Fong pointed at her feet, his voice full of surprise. Eve looked down at her feet, then at Liam Fong, bewildered. "These shoes? I found them in the trash yesterday." "Is something wrong, sir?" "Found them in the trash?" Liam Fong was even more surprised. He clearly remembered giving the shoebox to Flora to pass to Eve. Could it be she had mistakenly thrown them in the trash? Just then, Kevin Tran came out of his office, saw Eve holding his shoebox, and approached her. "Eve, are you looking for me?" Eve turned to Kevin Tran, handing him the shoebox. "Mr. Tran, I'm sorry. I can't accept this gift. I appreciate your kindness, but I only see you as an older brother, a superior." Hearing this, Kevin Tran, though a little sad and disappointed, still smiled politely. "It's okay, Eve. I understand. Perhaps I was too abrupt. Please don't worry about it. Liam Fong, standing beside them, witnessed the conversation, looked at the shoes he had gifted now on Eve's feet, and Kevin Tran's rejected gift, and immediately understood everything. Flora must have hidden his shoes, only giving Kevin Tran's to Eve to set them up. But unexpectedly, Eve had refused Kevin Tran, and coincidentally, found his shoes. It was truly fate. He walked over, casually put his arm around Eve's shoulder in front of both her and Kevin Tran, much to their astonishment. "It seems the princess has found the prince's shoes, hasn't she?" he said with a smile, his gaze full of affection for Eve. Eve was bewildered. "Prince? Your shoes? What do you mean?" Liam Fong took the crumpled card Eve still kept in her jacket pocket, holding it up in front of her. "This card and these shoes, I bought them for you, silly." Eve's jaw dropped in astonishment. These shoes were a gift from Liam Fong? Why didn't he say so earlier? Why did he ask Flora to deliver them? And why did Flora throw them in the trash? Her mind was in a whirl. Liam Fong looked at her adorably dazed expression, couldn't resist, bent down, and placed a light kiss on her forehead. "Eve, be my girlfriend?" he said, his voice deep, warm, and sincere. Eve was stunned by Liam Fong's unexpected action and confession. Her heart pounded wildly. Kevin Tran, standing beside them, was also speechless. People in the corridor began to whisper and gossip. Eve looked deeply into Liam Fong's eyes, seeing sincerity and earnest affection. She remembered everything he had done for her, his care, protection, teasing. Her heart told her that she had fallen for him too. She nodded slightly, mumbling, I agree." Liam Fong, overjoyed, hugged her tightly, spinning her around in the middle of the corridor in front of everyone. "Wonderful. From now on, you're mine." Kevin Tran watched the happy scene, his heart aching. He knew he had lost. He silently turned and walked away, trying to hide the disappointment and hurt welling up inside him. Liam Fong held Eve tightly, whispering in her ear, "Quit your job here starting tomorrow. I'll arrange for you to go back to school. After you graduate, you'll come work with me at the company." Eve looked up at him, her eyes full of emotion and gratitude. Perhaps, after so many storms, she had finally found her peaceful harbor. But she didn't know that this budding happiness was about to face even darker challenges and conspiracies. Liam Fong's proposal deeply moved Eve. Returning to her studies was an unfulfilled dream she never dared to imagine. But she also hesitated slightly. "But I don't want to rely on you. I want to strive on my own," Eve said, her eyes resolute. Liam Fong held her tighter, his voice persuasive. "I know you're strong and independent, but I want to care for and look after the woman I love. Your studies aren't about reliance. They're an investment in our future together. After you graduate, you can help me manage the company. How about that?" Hearing him say that, Eve had no reason to refuse. She nodded in agreement, her heart filled with happiness and hope for a brighter future. The news that CEO Liam Fong and the janitor Eve were officially dating spread through the company like an earthquake. People gossiped animatedly. Some offered blessings, some were curious, but many were jealous and envious. The most heartbroken and hurt was probably Kevin Tran. He had been Liam Fong's best friend since university, enduring many hardships together to build the Kobe's. Impini. He had always considered Liam Fong a brother, but also always felt like his shadow. From studies and work to love, it seemed he was always the loser. It was the same this time. He had feelings for Eve first, but lacked Liam Fong's courage and decisiveness. Seeing the woman he loved, happy with his best friend, his heart felt as if it were being squeezed. He turned to alcohol to drown his sorrows. In his drunken state, He recalled Liam Fong's words about Eve, remembered her happy smile when she accepted the proposal. The pain, jealousy, and sense of defeat surged within him, causing him to lose his reason. Meanwhile, Rose Hong and Lily were also seething with jealousy. Their plan to separate Eve and Kevin Tran hadn't even been executed before Eve had climbed to the position of the CEO's girlfriend. This made them hate her even more. Lily, after being bluntly rejected by Kevin Tran, albeit due to a misunderstanding about the gift, now saw him suffering because of Eve, and her resentment grew. She decided not to pursue Kevin Tran anymore, but to shift her target to Liam Fong. She was confident in her beauty and charm, believing she deserved Liam Fong more than a country bumpkin like Eve. Rose Hong still harbored dreams of becoming the mistress of Star Entertainment. Seeing Liam Fong publicly declare his feelings for Eve, she was furious. She wasn't willing to lose so easily. Two kindred spirits quickly found each other. Rose Hong proactively contacted Kevin Tran, who was drowning in alcohol and disappointment. "Kevin, are you okay?" Rose Hong's voice was sweet over the phone. Kevin Tran, drunk, snapped when he heard Rose Hong's voice. "Why are you calling me? Want to laugh in my face?" "Not at all, Kevin. I'm just worried about you." Rose Hong feigned concern. "I know you're sad about the CEO and that Eve girl." "Me too. I feel it's so unfair to you." Rose Hong's words struck a chord with Kevin Tran. He began to pour out his heart, lamenting his pain and dissatisfaction. Rose Hong listened patiently, occasionally adding a few provocative remarks, adding fuel to the fire. "I don't think much of that Eve girl. She must have used some trick to seduce the CEO. How could someone like the CEO love a cleaner?" "Exactly. She doesn't deserve Fong." Kevin Tran agreed in his drunken state. "How about we cooperate, Kevin?" Rose Hong suddenly suggested. "Let's expose that girl together. Separate her and the CEO. That way, you'll have a chance with her, and I—" Rose Hong left the sentence unfinished, but her meaning was clear. Kevin Tran, blinded by jealousy and alcohol, wavered at Rose Hong's suggestion. He knew it was wrong, a betrayal of his best friend. But the thought of winning Eve back, or at least making Liam Fong suffer as he did, overwhelmed his reason. Cooperate. How? Kevin Tran's voice faltered. Rose Hong smiled triumphantly. She knew she had succeeded in the first step. "I'll tell you the plan later. For now, just act normal with the CEO. Don't let him suspect anything. Leave the rest to me." The phone call ended, leaving Kevin Tran in a state of turmoil. He knew he was on the wrong path, his judgment clouded by envy. But he couldn't stop anymore. He wanted Eve, at any cost. The next morning, Kevin Tran arrived at the company looking tired, but trying to act normal. Liam Fong, noticing his friend seemed unwell, asked, "Drank too much last night again?" "You look exhausted." "It's nothing. Just a little sleepless." Kevin Tran forced a smile. "Congratulations, by the way. You finally found your love." Liam Fong clapped his friend on the shoulder. "Thanks, man. I know this might be a bit awkward for you, but feelings can't be forced. I hope you understand and still support me." "Of course. We're brothers," Kevin Tran said, but a bitter feeling rose in his heart. Liam Fong didn't notice the strangeness in his friend's eyes. He completely trusted their years of friendship. He had no idea that his best friend was secretly colluding with his enemy to destroy his happiness. Meanwhile, Eve was preparing to complete her resignation procedures at the company. She felt a little regretful about leaving Flora and her familiar job, but the joy of returning to school was much greater. She went to see Flora to say goodbye. "Are you really quitting, Eve?" "Lucky you. You're about to become the boss's wife." Flora was both happy and a little envious. Not at all, Flora. I'm quitting to go back to school, Eve said with a smile. She still didn't know that Flora had thrown away the shoes Liam Fong had gifted her. Well, I wish you happiness then. Don't forget about me, Flora. Yes, of course. Thank you for all your help during this time. Eve said goodbye to everyone and packed her personal belongings. As she was about to leave the company, Rose Hong and Lily suddenly blocked her path. Well, well, look who it is! About to upgrade your life, so your nose is in the air, huh? Lisikiers, lies sneered. Rose Hong crossed her arms, looking Eve up and down with a scrutinizing gaze. Heard the CEO is sending you back to school. Talk about a Cinderella story. Eve didn't want to argue with them. She tried to slip past. Wait a minute! Rose Hong grabbed her arm. I'm warning you, don't think you're all that just because you snagged the CEO. You don't deserve him. You'll pay for what you've done. I haven't done anything wrong. Eve pushed Rose Hong's hand away, her eyes firm. Please move aside and let me pass. With that, she walked straight past them, not looking back. Rose Hong and Lily watched her retreating figure furiously, their eyes shooting daggers. That brat is getting more insolent. We need to execute the plan quickly. Rose Hong gritted her teeth, speaking to Lily. A dark conspiracy aimed at the budding happiness of Eve and Liam Fong was gradually taking shape. Their coming days would certainly not be peaceful. After Kevin Tran agreed to cooperate, Rose Hong and Lily quickly devised a detailed and malicious plan to separate Liam Fong and Eve. Their plan consisted of two main steps. Step 1, approach and gain Eve's trust. Rose Hong and Lily would play the roles of kind older sisters, remorseful for their past actions, proactively making peace and appearing friendly with Eve. The purpose was to make Eve lower her guard and easily fall into their trap later. Step 2. Create false evidence of Eve, two-timing, secretly seeing Kevin Tran behind Liam Fong's back. Kevin Tran would play the role of a heartbroken lover, used by Eve. They would stage a situation to capture fake, intimate photos of Eve and Kevin Tran, then send them to Liam Fong to provoke his jealousy. To execute the first step, Rose Hong and Lily began to change their attitude towards Eve by 180 degrees. They proactively sought her out, apologizing profusely for past incidents, blaming it on blind jealousy. Eve, dear, we're so sorry. It was because we had feelings for the CEO and Assistant Tran before that we acted foolishly and wrongly towards you. We hope you can forgive us, Rose Hong said with feigned remorse. Lily chimed in. That's right, Eve. Thinking back, we were so childish and selfish. You're so kind. How could we treat you like that? Let's be good sisters from now on, okay? Eve, being naturally kind and trusting and seeing their apparent sincerity, softened. She thought everyone makes mistakes, and if they realized their error, she should forgive them. So, she happily agreed to reconcile. From then on, Rose Hong and Lily frequently found ways to approach and get close to Eve. They often brought her snacks, invited her to lunch, and bought her small, pretty gifts. They appeared very concerned about her life, asking about her studies and her relationship with Liam Fong. Eve, without any suspicion, treated them like real sisters, openly sharing all her thoughts and feelings. Meanwhile, Eve remained firm in her decision to study while working part-time at the cafe in the evenings. Although Liam Fong strongly advised her to quit working to focus on her studies, offering to cover all her expenses, she still wanted to earn some money herself to cover part of her living costs. She didn't want to be gossiped about as someone who relied on and leeched off her boyfriend. Liam Fong understood her self-respect and didn't force her. He respected her decision and was always there to encourage and support her. Their relationship grew deeper and more bonded. He often drove her to and from school and work, shared simple meals with her at familiar eateries, or simply took walks together on weekend evenings. Those peaceful and happy moments made Eve feel that life was truly meaningful. Seeing Eve increasingly trusting them, Rose Hong and Lily knew the time to execute the second step of their plan had come. They chose a Sunday when Eve had the day off from the cafe. Rose Hong and Lily went to Eve's rented room early in the morning, under the pretext of wanting to take her out to relax after her hard days of studying and working. "Eve, dear, it's Sunday and you're free. Let's go out for drinks and chat," Rose Hong said with a bright smile. "That's right, sis. Go change. I know this new place that just opened. It's beautiful. Perfect for living ow," Lily added enthusiastically. Eve, seeing their enthusiasm and thinking it had been a while since she had gone out, happily agreed. She changed into a simple floral dress, put on light makeup, and went out with Rose Hong and Lily. Instead of going to a cafe as planned, Rose Hong drove Eve straight to a famous and rather notorious bar in the city center. "Huh, sis? Why are we here? I thought we were going for coffee," Eve asked in surprise as the car stopped in front of the noisy, bustling bar. Rose Hong laughed faintly. "Oh, just a change of scenery for fun, sis. It's interesting to listen to music and dance a bit here. I've booked a table. Let's just pop in for a while." Lily also pulled Eve's hand. "Come on, sis. Let's go check it out. It's really fun here." Eve hesitated. She had never been to places like this, but seeing the excited expressions of her two sisters, coupled with youthful curiosity, she reluctantly agreed to follow them inside. She had no idea she was walking into a meticulously laid trap. Inside the bar, the loud dance music pounded and colorful lights flashed continuously. The noisy, bustling atmosphere was a stark contrast to Eve's usual quiet life. Rose Hong and Lily pulled her to a pre-booked table in a secluded corner. Kevin Tran was already waiting there, pretending it was a chance encounter. "Oh, Mr. Tran, you're here too." Rose Hong feigned surprise. "Hello, ladies. I was waiting for a friend and saw you come in," Kevin Tran said with a forced smile, his eyes quickly glancing at Eve. Eve was slightly surprised to see Kevin Tran there, but didn't think much of it. She politely greeted him. The four of them sat at the same table. Rose Hong and Lily continuously ordered strong liquor and pressured Eve to drink. They used excuses like, "It's more fun to drink alcohol in a bar," and "drink a little to blend in." Eve had very low alcohol tolerance, and being easily swayed, she couldn't refuse being constantly pressured by her two sisters. After just a few glasses, her head began to spin, and her face turned bright red. Kevin Tran sat beside her, watching Eve gradually get drunk, his heart full of conflict. He didn't want to hurt her, but the arrow had already left the bow and couldn't be retrieved. He tried to act natural, occasionally making a few jokes and refilling Eve's glass according to Rose Hong's signals. When Eve was completely drunk, her head slumped on the table. Oblivious to everything, Rose Hong signaled Kevin Tran to act. Kevin Tran took a deep breath, trying to suppress the guilt in his heart. He moved closer to Eve, tenderly, letting her head rest on his shoulder. Immediately, Rose Hong raised her phone, taking multiple photos from different angles, deliberately including the blurred bar scene in the background. The photos captured the moment Kevin Tran was intimately holding the drunk Eve. After taking the photos, Kevin Tran helped Eve up. "Let me take you home," he said, his voice feigning concern. "No need to go home." Rose Hong stopped him. "Take her to a nearby motel to rest. If she goes home this drunk, her mother will worry." This was the final step in their plan. Kevin Tran helped Eve out of the bar, deliberately walking past a well-lit area so Rose Hong could take a few more photos. Then, he took Eve to a nearby budget motel. As Kevin Tran was helping Eve into the motel entrance, Rose Hong quickly snapped another photo from a distance, deliberately including the motel sign above. This photo would be the most damning evidence of Eve's affair. After taking Eve into the room and laying her neatly on the bed, Kevin Tran silently left. He didn't harm her. He was just a puppet in Rose Hong's plan. But this act was enough to make him feel guilty and tormented. As soon as Kevin Tran left the motel, Rose Hong immediately sent the photos she had just taken to Liam Fong via text message, accompanied by provocative and sarcastic words. CEO, look what your precious little girlfriend is doing, intimately dating your close assistant in a bar, and then going to a motel together. You're truly being cuckolded without knowing it. Receiving the message and those photos, Liam Fong was as if struck dumb. His hands trembled, the phone almost falling to the ground. The image of Eve leaning on Kevin Tran's shoulder in the bar, then the image of Kevin Tran helping her into a motel. It was all like knives stabbing straight into his heart. Jealousy, anger, disappointment. All negative emotions erupted violently within Liam Fong. He couldn't believe his eyes. Eve, the gentle, innocent girl he loved, could betray him so blatantly. And with Kevin Tran, his best friend. Without a moment's hesitation, Liam Fong rushed out of the house, got into his car, and sped like mad to the motel address he had seen in the photo. He had to go there, catch them, red-handed. He had to hear Eve's explanation herself. Blind jealousy had clouded his reason. He was no longer calm enough to consider if there was anything suspicious behind those photos. All he knew was that he was being betrayed. Liam Fong's sports car screeched as it braked suddenly in front of the Tranquility Motel. He stormed out of the car, his face murderous, ignoring the surprised look of the motel owner, and demanded, "The girl and the young man who just rented a room, which room are they in?" The owner, seeing her previous guest return with such a furious expression, was a bit frightened and stammered, pointing upstairs. Room 201, sir." Liam Fong, without a word, rushed straight to the second floor. He stood before room 201, his heart pounding with anger and pain. He raised his hand to knock, then lowered it. He took a deep breath, gathered all his strength, and kicked hard at the door. Bang! The old wooden door burst open. The scene inside that met Liam Fong's eyes made him freeze. Eve was still lying unconscious on the bed, her clothes intact but somewhat disheveled. Beside the bed stood Kevin Tran, wearing only an undershirt, his long pants still on. Perhaps he had just taken off his shirt to prepare for a shower or to sleep. Seeing Liam Fong burst in with a terrifying expression, Kevin Tran was also stunned. He hadn't yet understood what was happening. "Fong! Why are you here?" Kevin Tran stammered, but Liam Fong could no longer hear anything. The image of a shirtless Kevin Tran standing beside Eve, who was lying on a motel bed, was like fuel to the fire of his raging jealousy. "You bastard! How dare you betray me!" Liam Fong roared, lunging forward and delivering a thunderous punch to Kevin Tran's face. Attacked unexpectedly, Kevin Tran staggered and fell to the floor. The powerful punch made his lip bleed. "Fong, let me explain. It's not what you think." Kevin Tran tried to explain through the pain. "Explain what? I saw it with my own eyes. You dared to touch my woman." Liam Fong, like a wild, out-of-control beast, rained blows on Kevin Tran. He vented all his anger, disappointment, and pain on the best friend he had once trusted most. Kevin Tran didn't resist, merely covering his head and taking the beating. He knew he was wrong. He deserved it. But he didn't want Liam Fong to misunderstand Eve. "Fong, stop! Eve, she's innocent. It was me. I was tricked." Kevin Tran managed to say between sobs, But Liam Fong didn't listen. He only stopped when he saw Kevin Tran lying beaten on the floor, his face bruised and bloody, almost unconscious. Only then did Liam Fong turn back to look at Eve, still lying motionless on the bed. His anger subsided somewhat, replaced by pain and sorrow. He walked to the bed, gently scooped her up. Her body was limp in his arms. He could feel her steady breathing and the faint smell of alcohol on her. He carried Eve out of the chaotic room, leaving Kevin Tran unconscious on the cold floor. He took her to the nearest hospital for a checkup. He needed to know for sure what had happened to her. At the hospital, after examination and tests by the doctors, the results showed that Eve had been drugged with a fairly high dose of a sedative, combined with alcohol, which was why she was so deeply unconscious. Fortunately, there were no signs of sexual assault. Hearing the results from the doctor, Liam Fong finally breathed a sigh of relief. At least Eve was safe. But his anger towards those who had harmed her flared up again. He knew for sure this was a trap. Those photos, Eve's condition, it was all an elaborately staged drama. He sat by her hospital bed, silently gazing at Eve's sleeping face. His heart was filled with remorse and regret. He had been too jealous, too hot-headed to investigate the matter thoroughly. He had beaten Kevin Tran severely, had doubted the woman he loved. He clenched Eve's hand tightly, promising himself he would find the mastermind behind it all and make them pay. He took out his phone, called his private lawyer and the company's security department, requesting an investigation into the incident and preparations to sue those involved. Meanwhile, at the Tranquility Motel, Rose Hong and Lily were gleeful, thinking their plan had succeeded perfectly. They imagined Liam Fong in a fit of rage, breaking up with Eve, even beating her. But when they received a report from a motel employee, planted by Rose Hong, that Liam Fong had taken Eve to the hospital and Kevin Tran was beaten half to death, they panicked. Not only had the plan failed, but it was also in danger of being exposed. If Liam Fong reported it to the police, they would surely be in big trouble. "Oh no, Lily. What do we do now?" Rose Hong panicked. "Kevin Tran was beaten like that. Will he expose us?" Lily was equally terrified. "How about we go to the hospital and apologize to the CEO and that girl, beg them for forgiveness, not to call the police?" With no other choice, Rose Hong and Lily hastily hailed a taxi to the hospital. They hoped to use tears and feigned remorse to beg for forgiveness before things went too far. When Eve slowly regained consciousness, the first thing she saw was Liam Fong's worried face looking down at her. Her head throbbed, and her memories of the previous evening were just hazy fragments. She only remembered drinking a lot of alcohol with Rose Hong and Lily. And then, nothing. "You're awake? How are you feeling?" Liam Fong asked, his voice full of gentleness and remorse. Where am I? Why does my head hurt so much?" Eve asked weakly. Liam Fong gently recounted everything to her, from her being drugged to the fake photos and his blind jealousy. He showed her the photos Rose Hong had sent. Looking at the photos of herself leaning on Kevin Tran's shoulder in the bar, then being helped into the motel by him, Eve was shocked and furious. She couldn't believe Rose Hong and Lily could be so malicious and cruel. They had exploited her trust to harm her. It was them! It must be Rose Hong and Lily. They tricked me. Eve burst into tears, feeling deeply hurt and betrayed. Liam Fong held her close, comforting her. "I know. I'm sorry for doubting you. I was too hot-headed. I promise I'll get justice for you." Just then, Rose Hong and Lily tiptoed into the hospital room. Seeing Liam Fong and Eve, they quickly knelt, crying and begging, "CEO! Eve! We beg for your forgiveness. We were wrong. We were foolish. Please don't call the police." Rose Hong cried as she spoke. Lily also had tears streaming down her face. We only did it because we were too jealous. Please give us a chance to make amends. Liam Fong looked at the two of them acting out their charade of remorse, his eyes as cold as ice. He said nothing, just silently dialed the hospital security. Security? Room 305. Two unauthorized individuals are causing a disturbance. Please come up and handle it. Hearing this, Rose Hong and Lily became even more terrified, begging more earnestly. But Liam Fong was unmoved. He knew these tears were fake. Those who callously harm others like this do not deserve forgiveness. Security quickly arrived and escorted Rose Hong and Lily out of the hospital room. They cried and wailed, but it was useless. They knew their careers and future at Star Entertainment were over. After Rose Hong and Lily were taken away, Liam Fong turned back to Eve. He gently wiped her tears. Don't cry anymore. It's all over. No one can hurt you from now on. But Eve still felt hurt, not just by Rose Hong and Lily's actions, but also by Liam Fong's suspicion and hot-headed behavior. You believed those photos. You thought I was that kind of easy girl? Her voice was choked. Liam Fong bowed his head, his voice full of remorse. I'm sorry. I was wrong. I was too blindly jealous. Please forgive me. Eve was silent. She needed time to think, to soothe the pain and disappointment. After the incident at the hospital, Liam Fong decided to fire Rose Hong and Lily immediately. Kevin Tran, after his injuries were treated, also proactively resigned. He felt ashamed and couldn't face Liam Fong and Eve anymore. He also cut off all contact with Rose Hong. Flora, the colleague who had hidden Liam Fong's shoes, was also let go for her dishonest behavior and intentionally causing misunderstanding. Liam Fong wanted to purify the work environment, not allowing malicious people to continue existing in his company. Eve, after being discharged from the hospital, also decided to quit her job at the cafe. She wanted to temporarily avoid Liam Fong, to give both of them time and space to think about their relationship. Although her anger had somewhat subsided, Liam Fong's words and actions during his jealous rage still hurt her. She needed to be sure that he truly trusted her, not just out of guilt or pity. She focused on her studies at school and occasionally helped her mother with odd jobs at home. Her life returned to a quiet routine, but her heart still harbored ripples of unease about the budding romance that had already faced storms. Liam Fong respected Eve's decision. He didn't bother her, but still silently cared for and watched over her from afar. He knew he needed to be patient, to use his actions to prove his love and trust. He often drove near her school at dismissal time just to see her silhouette from a distance. He sent beautiful bouquets of fresh flowers to her home without a sender's name. He asked her mother to pass on delicious, nutritious meals to her under the pretext of company appreciation for former employees. Gradually, Eve also felt Liam Fong's sincerity and persistence. She saw that he had truly changed, no longer the cold, arrogant CEO or the blindly jealous man. He had become calmer, gentler, and knew how to express his feelings more subtly. One weekend evening, Liam Fong mustered all his courage to find Eve at her rented room. He didn't say much, just quietly sat beside her on the porch, watching the starry night sky together. I know I was wrong. I hurt you. Liam Fong broke the silence first. But my love for you is genuine. I love your strength, your resilience, and even your stubbornness. Please, give me one more chance, will you? Eve looked deeply into his eyes, seeing sincerity, remorse, and also the fear of rejection. Her heart fluttered. She knew she loved him very much, too. She couldn't deny her feelings just because of past hurts. She nodded slightly, smiling. I'll give you one more chance, but you have to promise, from now on, no baseless jealousy, and you must always trust me. Liam Fong, over Jay, Oid, grasped her hand tightly. I promise on my life. They looked at each other, smiling happily. The misunderstandings and hurts seemed to have vanished, leaving only love and trust for each other. They officially reconciled, starting a new chapter in their love story. Eve returned to school with a cheerful and energetic mood. Liam Fong was always by her side, supporting and encouraging her. He no longer pressured her to quit working, but respected her independence. Occasionally, he would still visit the old cafe, where she had quit, just to sit alone, reminiscing about their early memories together. As for Kevin Tran, after leaving Star Entertainment, he moved to another city to start a new life. He found a new job in marketing. Time and distance helped him overcome his emotional pain and realize his mistakes. He no longer resented Liam Fong or Eve, but genuinely wished them happiness. Occasionally, he still sent messages to Liam Fong like old friends, though their relationship could never be as close as before. Rose Hong, after being fired and losing Kevin Tran's support, found her life much harder. Without money to spend lavishly, she struggled to find a normal job. The price she paid for her wicked schemes made her gradually realize her mistakes. But it was too late. 1 year later, Eve graduated from university with honors. She didn't immediately return to work at Star Entertainment, but decided to try her hand at a small media company to gain experience. She wanted to prove her own abilities, to confidently walk beside Liam Fong with her own merits. Liam Fong fully supported her decision. He was proud of his girlfriend's maturity and independence. Star Entertainment, under his leadership, continued to grow stronger, becoming one of the leading entertainment companies in Vietnam. Love had weathered both storms and challenges. Liam Fong fate had brought them together 3 years prior, albeit under ironic circumstances. Their wedding was warm yet elegant, blessed by family, friends, and colleagues. Mrs. Lan, Eve's mother, now completely healthy, happily watched her daughter find her peaceful harbor. On her wedding day, Eve wore a pristine white gown, as beautiful as a princess. Liam Fong stood beside her, dapper and proud. They exchanged a sweet kiss before everyone, closing a chapter full of turmoil and opening a future of complete happiness. The stars that once witnessed the young girl's pain and humiliation now twinkled brightly in the sky, as if blessing their love. A brilliant dawn had arrived for Eve, dispelling the darkness of the past, bringing her a new life filled with light, love, and happiness. Their story was a testament that no matter how difficult the beginning, with sincere love, trust, and forgiveness, all wounds will eventually heal, and happiness will ultimately smile upon them.